Spider-Man, a Spider-Man does whatever a spider can. Spins a web any size, catches bees, or just flies.
Hello, and welcome back to more Films Under Constant Critique, where we take a look at films, some good, some bad, and some downright awful. I'm Bongo Baikov, joined by our host, Maverick, Dren, Zaria. This week, we are taking a look at the 2004 movie, Spider-Man 2.
Pizza time. I wish I actually had I had pizza rolls earlier, so close enough.
That almost counts.
Give me an email and I'll send you a pizza roll. Okay, so Spider-Man 2 was released in June of 2004. I cannot believe this movie is 20 years old now.
We were really close to doing it on the anniversary, too. On the 20th anniversary.
I literally can remember, when these were new movies. It's so weird.
So I remember, I'll get into this with my initial thoughts a bit more, actually. I'll hold off on that, but yeah.
Let me guess, you saw this in theaters.
No, not quite.
You would have been 4, so yeah. It cost $200 million and made almost $796 million.
Ooh, that's pretty good.
It made slightly less money than the first, but it still did pretty well. It was the third highest grossing film of 2004. Behind Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban.
Okay, that makes sense.
And Shrek 2.
Yeah, that also makes sense.
It is insane how much money Shrek 2 made. That movie made, almost $1 billion. It's ridiculous. And that's another one where I'm like, I can't believe that's a 20-year-old movie now. Because I remember watching that movie a lot as a kid.
2004 was just a great year for, children's movies, because you had Shrek 2, Prisoner of Azkaban, Spider-Man 2, The Incredibles. You had Shark Tale come out that year.
Yeah, I saw Incredibles in the theater, actually. That was, one of the first movies I saw in the theater, if I remember right. So, we once again have Sam Raimi in the director's chair, and he has now beaten Ridley Scott as the director we've had on the podcast the most times.
That's pretty good.
6 times. Congratulations, Sam. Because he's your favorite director, so that's why we keep doing his movies. Yeah. That might actually be true, because, your favorite movie of the podcast was Evil Dead 2, right?
Yeah. I think he might be my favorite director. And definitely among the ones we've done for the podcast.
I mean, I wouldn't blame you. He's done some good stuff. We do have a different writer on this one. We have Alvin Sargent. And
what else has he done?
He wrote Julia and Ordinary People, which do not sound very... They're not exactly Spider-Man. Those are some pretty serious dramas right there.
He also apparently did the I Walk the Line film.
Oh, the one with Joaquin Phoenix as Johnny Cash, yeah.
Different one.
Wait, which one did he do? There's another movie called I Walk the Line?
Yeah, it came out in 1970. Starring Gregory Peck.
I haven't seen that movie. Huh. But it does have the song by Johnny Cash in it, so apparently. Yeah. So close, I guess.
He did The Amazing Spider-Man.
Anyway. So the cast, a lot of whom are returning from the first. Tobey Maguire came back. James Franco, Kirsten Dunst, J.K. Simmons. Glad to have him back. Rosemary Harris. Another Bruce Campbell cameo.
Yeah.
Oh, and I forgot to mention Stan Lee had a cameo in the first one.
Yes. Wasn't it pretty brief?
It's
Like,
pretty
he was in
brief,
a
and he
crowd?
doesn't have any lines, so, you know. And
Yeah.
it's same in this one. He gets a cameo in the third one, which I'll definitely be talking about.
Yeah.
We also get the first appearance of Elia Baskin as the rent guy.
Mr. Ditkovich.
Give me rent. Ted Raimi, who we've had him on the podcast a lot because he's in a ton of Sam Raimi movies. Cliff Robertson, he's in this again as Uncle Ben. Some of the new cast members, we got Alfred Molina.
Who is a returning cast member.
Yes, he was covered in spiders in Raiders of the Lost Ark, and now he's got multiple metallic arms and he's fighting Spider-Man, so... How the turntables. Joel McHale is in this. Not much, but I like the show Community, so it's just kind of funny watching this again and seeing Jeff Winger during the banks. John Landis has a cameo as one of the doctors, which, wait, that would make him a returning cast member, too.
Huh.
Because
We've also got a cameo from
Darkman, I think, and...
I think so.
He was in RoboCop, I think. These are all cameos. For some reason, he kept having cameos on, like, movies that we've done. And there might have been more, but anyway. Scott Spiegel, he has a cameo in this. He's also in a bunch of Sam Raimi stuff.
Joey Diaz, the comedian, has a cameo in this at one part.
Who does he play?
He's on the train. He's the first guy that says to Doc Ock, if you want
right,
Spider-Man,
yeah, I thought I
through
recognized him. Yeah. He's the one that's like, you gotta go through all of us, or something like that. That was him, right?
Yeah.
I thought I recognized
Which
him.
I wasn't quite expecting to see Joey Diaz, but it was kind of funny realizing who it was.
It is kind of funny, yeah. He's having a cameo. I mean, the first one had Lucy Lawless in it, so, like, you know, that was unexpected. Okay, so initial thoughts. I'll let you start with this one, actually.
So, out of the three Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies, this is the one that I'm definitely the most familiar with. It's for sure the one that I've seen the most as well. Basically, any time that it came on TV when I was a kid, I would at least watch part of it. And I do have a bit of some, not really memorabilia, but just some of the other things that came out about this time with Spider-Man still at my parents' house.
You have like a Doc Ock toy or something.
yeah, but I also had this picture book that was explaining the story of the movie, but it had like a speaker built into the side of it.
Oh, that's
so as
cool.
you went through the book, you could play like different like sound clips and sound effects from the movie.
I used to have this like, I don't know what it was for exactly, but I had like some Spider-Man like book that like you could like press it and it would like make noises. Like one of them was like you could do like sort of a choose your own adventure type thing, just like make up some weird, I don't know. And I think the voice of Stan Lee was on it, but I don't remember. It was so long ago. But yeah, sorry, you can continue.
But yeah, I just have really fond memories of this one, and it might cloud my judgment a little bit. It's not a perfect movie. On this rewatch, I did notice a few things, but like overall, I just absolutely love this. Like the first one, it feels like everyone is perfectly cast. I love that we get more J.K. Simmons screen time in this one. He's much more of a character, which is just fantastic. I love that we get more of Harry Osborn in this film. He's much more of a main character. Alfred Molina is the main villain. He's just fantastic. He's this really sympathetic villain. You really feel for him. Plus, he's just kind of cool going around with these 4 giant arms coming out of his back. And the music is once again great. The whole thing is shot pretty well. It has a good pace to it. And I think I'm going to give this away early. I think this is my favorite superhero movie that we've done for the podcast.
Now, did you have anything else to add, or?
I think that's it for my opening remarks.
So, for some reason, I didn't see this one for a while.
Huh.
I think, well, part of it is my parents wouldn't allow me to watch the third one when I was younger, which that was the one I really wanted to see at that age because Venom's in it. And I mean, I liked Doc Ock, but there were so many other Spider-Man villains that I wanted to see them use in the movies, like Scorpion, Carnage, Mysterio, the Lizard, which some of them we've gotten in recent years. I would have loved to have seen that as a kid, but, better late than never, I guess.
Yeah.
I'd also heard a bit about the plot of this one. I'd read that Peter Parker stops being Spider-Man for a lot of the movie, which, as a Spider-Man fan, as a kid, that felt kind of sacrilegious to me. Yet, I do vaguely remember some of the advertising for this movie. Like, at the time, I remember seeing, pictures of Doc Ock and stuff. It's just so weird to think there was a time when this was a newer movie,
Yeah, no, it's always felt like it's been... It's weird, because you can think back to that time period when it was all brand new, but it feels so far away right now.
Yeah, I can't quite explain it. It's always just been there, to quote a Crash Test Dummies song. But I finally saw this movie in high school. It took me that long to see it, at least in full. I'd seen clips of it before that, but I watched it in full for the first time in high school. Really liked it. I've seen it a few times. I would say I think this is the best Spider-Man movie. I don't know. You agree with me on that,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, I would agree with that, yeah.
And I also think it's the third best superhero movie of all time.
Ooh.
There are 2 that I think are better. Second would be The Incredibles.
Okay, that's fair.
I love The Incredibles. It's kind of funny these both came out the same year.
Yeah.
And then first is, of course, Morbius. I mean, what can beat Morbius?
You can't beat Morbius. I mean,
what is going to beat Morbius? I mean,
isn't there a film where you watch paint dry for 8 hours?
Oh yeah, that's
that could beat Morbius.
That's the height of cinema right there. Yeah, or Quantum Quest. That's better than Morbius. And yeah, I would also say this is my favorite Sam Raimi movie. I don't know if that's your opinion or not, because I know you love Evil Dead 2, so
I will have to think on that.
But I just think, I don't know. For me, this was the one where, there are some of his movies that are more eccentric and weird than this, and I can definitely appreciate those. I do really enjoy Darkman, obviously, and then, yeah. But for me, what's crazy about this movie, they managed to make a sequel that was better than the first. I think the story here is better.
Yeah.
The visuals are definitely better in this movie, for sure. But more importantly, there's more character development, The action scenes are better, too. The action scenes in this movie still look pretty good today, I think, for being made 20 years ago, the first one shows its age a lot more, I think. And it's strange, because I have way more nostalgia for the first one, so, that's the Spider-Man.
I think I have more nostalgia for this one, but that's just because I saw this one much more than I ever saw the first one.
you know, but I think Spider-Man 2, I think it fixes some of the little problems I had with the first one, and and it expanded on what I loved about the first one. Now, what do you want to guess Leonard Maltin gave this?
Oh, oh no. 3. I'm gonna say he gave it a 3 out of 4.
3.5 out of 4.
Oh, okay.
He really liked this movie. He said,
Huh.
possibly the best comic book movie ever made, rich in emotion as well as big, exciting action sequences. What's more, its visual effects are far superior to those in the first movie. So this is a movie he thinks was better than Batman Forever.
Wow. That is impressive. We finally found it.
Okay, so the plot of this, actually, I was going to talk about there's I don't know if you know about the extended version of this movie.
I do not.
Have you heard about this or not?
No, I haven't.
There's an extended version of this movie called Spider-Man 2.1.
Okay.
It is 8 minutes longer than the theatrical cut. It's not a director's cut, because Sam Raimi felt the theatrical cut was his vision of the movie. It was basically just put together to sell more DVDs.
Nice.
Before Spider-Man 3 came out. Now, what changed is there's longer versions of some scenes, and there's some deleted scenes that were added in. One change that I really don't like is that instead of saying, "Go!" Mr. Aziz just says, "Go."
Oh, that's disappointing.
Yeah, I know. That's one of my favorite line deliveries in the movie. The changes are mostly pretty minor. The most interesting added scene, I don't know if you've heard about this, but there's a scene of Jameson wearing Spider-Man's costume.
I have seen that scene, actually. I just thought it was a deleted scene. I didn't know they put it into the movie.
In the extended version, yeah. But basically what the extended version was they added a few deleted scenes to it. A few extents. They also they fucked up the elevator scene in this version. Like in the theatrical version, it's this short scene that's just kind of funny and awkward, but they changed it in this version. It's like longer, and the guy's like apparently a talent agent that's trying to recruit Spider-Man, and it's just not that funny. It goes on too long.
Huh. I just looked it up. It looks like it's 2.5 minutes. That's really long.
But you have seen the Jameson scene at the very least.
I have seen the Jameson scene. That one's pretty funny.
It is funny. That's definitely the most interesting thing you get out of it. Well, okay, I haven't actually sat and watched that whole version, but I just watched like videos about it just to get a gist of what they changed. Yeah. It sounds like the theatrical.
I'm guessing it's not streaming anywhere.
It is on. The Blu-ray I have does actually have it on there.
Oh.
There is also there's an alternate cut of Spider-Man 3 as well that came out on its 10th anniversary. I'll talk about that one a little more when we get to Spider-Man 3, obviously.
Okay.
So, getting to the plot. The story of this one is that Spider-Man is having trouble balancing his work life and his superhero life.
I can relate to that.
Yep. Wait. Are you outing yourself as a superhero?
I'm sorry, the secret's coming out. I am Spider-Man.
You're Spider-Man? Oh, I should have known, huh?
How do you think I kept getting all those good pictures of him?
Yeah, this explains a lot, actually. Oh, so that's why you broke up with your girlfriend. Okay. This makes a lot of sense now. Are you telling me you're the one that killed Willem Dafoe? God damn it.
It was his own glider, I promise. He flew it into himself.
Well, yeah. No, you're lucky I'm not Harry Osborn then. So yeah, the Spider-Man is trying to balance his work life and his superhero life. Meanwhile, another scientist, driven crazy by his own technology, decides to become a villain. That also happens a lot in these movies. That's like every Spider-Man villain right there, isn't it? Just some scientist.
Yeah.
But anyway. And there's relationship troubles. Oh, and Peter's best friend kind of wants to kill him now because, well, misunderstandings.
Yes.
Okay, so starting with the pros. The score, I think, is pretty good, again.
Yes. And I read a bit about the score. I didn't realize there was actually some drama with that at the time with Danny Elfman.
Yeah, I remember I was hearing about that he had a falling out with Sam Raimi while they were making this movie. I don't know why, but it's weird.
But I guess they made it up because he also did the score for Oz, right?
Return to Oz? No, I'm kidding.
Or no, the Oz the Great
and Powerful. Yeah, which also has James Franco in it. So.
Oh, huh.
He's probably not going to make another movie with James Franco, though, due to recent events. But yeah, it's a good score.
Yeah.
I know some people have compared the score to, like, Hellraiser, which...
What?
The guy that did the music for Hellraiser also did the music for the third movie, but we'll get to that. The opening credits, I think, look pretty good.
Yep.
I think they used, like, storyboard drawings from the first movie.
It kind of looks like it. Like they use them to recap the first movie, which I think they do a similar thing in 3, but it's actually like just pictures of the movie, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, or like clips, yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of like what they did in... They did that with Honor Majesty's Secret Service because they wanted to reassure audiences that this is the same James Bond from the other movies, so they're like putting clips from it. Yeah. It's from like the first 5 movies. We get the greatest Spider-Man character of all time, Mr. Aziz. This whole beginning with like the pizza delivery antics, it's so funny. I love it.
It's so chaotic, but it really works with Peter's awkwardness.
Because basically Peter, he's working as a pizza delivery man, and how much time is he given to deliver these pizzas?
So the Mr. Aziz has the 29-minute guarantee, and he gives him like 7.5 minutes to deliver the pizzas.
Yeah, there's no way he would. Yeah, and he tells him to
go.
I love that line delivery so much.
There's a lot of good line delivery in this. Like, there's a laugh Doc Ock does at one point where he just goes, ah! That one always gets me.
Or when he delivers when Peter delivers the pizzas and he says,
"Pizza time."
That smile he gives, and that's so funny. You know, he was like rummaging around in the what was he doing in the janitor's closet? I mean, just what? Like
that's what that I guess there was a window in there, and that's where he came from, or like he went in there to change out of his Spider-Man suit.
Yeah, it's so weird. But yeah, he's like trying to deliver these pizzas, and at the same time, he saves these kids. They're like playing in the street. For some reason, they call him Mr. Spider-Man. And then he's swinging around with as Spider-Man, but carrying these pizzas. There's like this dude that yells, he just stole that guy's pizzas. That part's funny. Just... There's so many quotable lines just in this, like, series of events going on here.
Yeah, just in that opening scene.
But yeah, he's late with delivering the pizzas, because, I mean, it's kind of hard to be both Spider-Man and a pizza delivery man.
Speaking of...
the receptionist in that scene.
Because he was late by, like, a few seconds, right? Like, it was really no time at all.
Yeah, she's really not... But what I was going to mention is the receptionist, she's actually played by Zooey Deschanel's sister.
Oh.
Emily Deschanel, and she was in the show Bones.
Huh.
Yeah. Any Bones fans out there, possibly? I haven't seen it, but, you know, just thought I'd mention that. I think this is Tobey Maguire's best performance of the trilogy.
Yeah, no, it is very solid. Yeah, you really buy him as both Peter and Spider-Man. And, like, you can tell that sort of his quips have improved since the first movie.
They're still not very good in this one.
No, they're still not great, but they're better than they were in the last one.
I'm trying to remember some of them in this one. Like,
but you can tell that his character has definitely grown a little bit in between the two movies. He's a much better Spider-Man.
But even though he's been Spider-Man for 2 years, but he's still fucking up. Because I mean,
yeah, he's still learning, but you can tell that he has improved.
Because he's
since
still
the last movie.
He's really struggling with time management, which is very relatable.
Yeah.
Like, he's so busy, he forgot his own birthday. I mean, just... He's, brilliant but lazy, as they say in the movie.
Yeah.
And you can understand, when he does quit being Spider-Man, you can understand why he decided to quit.
Yeah.
Because, I mean...
He's sort of losing his powers, and his life as Peter just sucks at the moment. He's always getting just steamrolled by life, and so he's finally deciding that he's going to try and focus on himself, which...
Yeah, because his friend wants to kill him. His... she's his crush at this point. She wants to kill him.
Yeah.
His
aunt is getting evicted.
His idol that he was trying to write a paper on, he's trying to kill him. The only person that's not trying to kill him in this movie is Aunt May and Dr. Connors, I guess. Although Dr. Connors is still mad at him in this movie because he keeps missing class. And come to think of it, there's not too many superhero movies where that happens, where they just try to stop being a superhero.
Yeah.
I certainly can't think of very many that came before this one, at least. And I think his acting in this movie is better, too. There's one scene that really stuck out to me was where he confesses to Aunt May what actually happened the night that Uncle Ben was killed. Like, I thought that was a really good scene, and it felt real, too.
Yeah.
Like, the reactions felt genuine in that scene. And it was also just nice seeing a movie where they explore how the life of a superhero affects their daily life. I feel like that gets glossed over in a lot of superhero movies. You mostly just see them superheroing.
Yeah. Because I think they tried to do something with that in either... I forget if it was Iron Man 2 or 3, but he's having, like, those panic attacks. But they don't really go super into it. And also Tony Stark's like a billionaire who, like, solves all of his problems in 5 minutes. So it doesn't quite feel as, like, impactful as seeing Peter's journey in this
I
movie.
still maintain that like there's really only one good Iron Man movie, which is the first one. But
That's fair.
'cause if I remember right, the only MCU movies that really explore that are like, I guess the Tom Holland Spider-Man movies do
Yeah,
really explore that. Not quite like this, but there's some of it.
yeah.
So I don't know. It's an interesting idea. Their secret identity, and then also they have to be a public figure as well, kind of. And plus, you kind of get to see two performances. Like with that's what I like about the Christopher Reeve Superman movies is you get to see it's almost like he's playing two different characters. He's playing Clark Kent, but he's also playing Superman. And they feel like completely different people, even though they are the same person. And I also feel Tobey Maguire was less like awkward in this one.
Yeah,
he was in the first. He's still Peter Parker, but like he's grown a lot since that first movie. There's a lot of good action scenes in this movie too. Like when I think of action scenes from the Spider-Man movies, this one I think has probably the best ones. Like that train fight at the end is really good.
Yes.
Basically, any action scene where Doc Ock shows up is pretty good.
I think we need a whole section on just the Doc Ock fight scenes, because those are all just amazing and fun.
Because he's got these metallic arms. He's like throwing things around. I like when he's like climbing the building and he's got Aunt May with him.
Yeah. And Aunt May like smacks him in the head with a umbrella.
Aunt May kind of fights back during that scene.
I really like the bank fight. How there's just these bags of change just like piled up in the vault that he's lobbing at Spider-Man.
Yeah, he's like and also how later you see like there's a news headline from the Daily Bugle that says like Spider-Man and Doc Ock rob bank or something. Which I thought was pretty funny. Yeah, they're really good fight scenes, and they still look pretty good too. Like the CGI, I think holds up pretty well.
It holds up a lot better than some of the CGI in the first movie. There's no cartoon skeletons after somebody gets vaporized.
Yeah, the action scenes in the first movie are a lot more cartoony, whereas with this one, you're kind of seeing the birth of like modern superhero action scenes here. Yeah, this is what a lot of superhero action scenes look like nowadays. Although amazingly, there's some that look worse, even though this came out 20 years ago. And do you want to talk about Doc Ock now? I feel like
Doc Ock just absolutely steals the show in this.
I know he's one of your favorite villains.
Yes. I think he might be my favorite Spider-Man villain.
Of the movies. I really I think he's really good. Surprisingly, I really liked the Vulture in Homecoming.
He was pretty good too. I think we talked about him a bit last time. But just the way that he's portrayed as like a regular blue-collar man who's sort of taking advantage of all this alien tech to try to get him and his employees to get to like a better place in life, I think was really interesting.
And he's played by Michael Keaton, too. I mean,
yeah.
Which that was another thing. When I saw Homecoming, I wasn't expecting, of all the villains that they actually made really interesting, the Vulture, like, I never thought he was one of the more interesting Spider-Man villains before that movie, but they actually made him really interesting in that movie. And I really liked Mysterio in Far From Home.
There's a few things that were confusing about Mysterio, but I think he was overall pretty good.
And also because I always thought Mysterio was a really cool concept, and I didn't understand why they didn't use him in any movies. I heard they were going to use him in like Spider-Man 4, which never got made.
Yeah. Because I think that was supposed to be Bruce Campbell's cameo in the fourth one was as Mysterio.
Right, yeah.
And then Mr. Ditkovich was supposed to be revealed to be like a retired Kraven the Hunter.
Oh boy, that would have been weird. Oh, because they are, they're both Russian. Huh.
Yeah.
I hadn't thought of that. That's interesting. And then I remember also wanting them to use the lizard in a movie, which they did, but it wasn't a very good depiction, so, you know.
Was that the first Amazing Spider-Man?
Yeah.
I never saw either of the two Amazing Spider-Man movies.
I've seen them both. I actually saw the first one in the theater when that came out.
Oh.
But yeah, I would say Doc Ock is one of the better Spider-Man villains that we've gotten.
Yeah.
He's kind of a nice contrast with the Green Goblin, because the Goblin was more of an over-the-top comic booky villain.
Just like an absolutely feral bad guy.
Like, he does have some... There is some sympathy you can get from him, but that probably mainly comes from being played by Willem Dafoe, so, you know.
Yeah.
I find it hard to hate Willem Dafoe in anything, even when he's playing just psychopaths. Whereas Doc Ock is a lot more, like, restrained. Although they're both kind of similar, because again, they're scientists that got driven crazy by their own experiments.
Yeah. In Doc Ock's case, it was his tentacle arms that had AI that took over his mind for a little bit.
Because he was trying to build a fusion reactor. Because he was trying to harness, like, the power of the sun. Okay, I'm a little bit confused on what he was trying to do there exactly.
It's a lot of like just technobabble, just a lot of scientific sounding nonsense. But it was basically he was trying to make a fusion reactor to make
that's self-sustaining,
like an infinite energy source. Yeah, like a self-sustaining energy source.
I like looked it up on like Wikipedia and it said that there still isn't like a self-sustaining.
No, it's still entirely theoretical.
Yeah, and this movie came out like 20 years ago, so you know.
Yeah.
It would be a huge breakthrough, basically, if somebody actually did that.
Yeah.
And I would say I find the Green Goblin more fun to watch, but I felt more sorry for Doc Ock in this movie, because basically what happens is he creates these metallic arms, you know, to like play around with the fusion reactor, I guess. And the inhibitor chip gets damaged, and he loses control of the arms. They end up like killing a few people, including his wife. Ends up accidentally killing his wife. And so he's like not sure what to do with himself now, because you know, like he kind of reminded me of Vader a little bit, actually, where
I was about to compare him to Mr. Freeze,
because he's got mechanical limbs, but then he's sad because he accidentally killed his wife, you know.
Yeah.
I guess it's debated whether Anakin killed Padme or not, but anyway.
Yeah.
I can kind of see the thing with Mr. Freeze, though, is he's trying to keep his wife alive.
But there's still like that same sort of sense of sadness between the two, and they're also both scientists who sort of become villains.
Yeah, but basically he's like just kind of lost his mind. He's being controlled by the arms. And the arms look pretty cool, too. There's like these...
The special effects for the arms are just fantastic.
Some of it's CGI and some of it's practical, if I remember right.
Yeah.
Although it was hard to tell when. It was blended really well, actually. And it's just fun, too, seeing those things just, like, grabbing things during, like, action scenes and stuff. Or, like, just there's one part later in the movie when he shows up at Harry's house.
Yeah.
And he uses one of the arms to, like, grab a wine glass out of... Or was that, like, a beer? It was, like, a beer or wine glass. He, like, grabs it out of Harry's hand and, like, drinks it with the mechanical arm. I thought that was
Can we talk about the best scene in the movie?
Oh, which scene would that be? There's a lot of good scenes.
When Doc Ock first awakens in the hospital.
Oh my god. Okay, yes, let's talk about that part.
What a fantastic scene. And just a great introduction to Doc Ock as the main villain.
The way the scenes are shot with like Doc Ock, that's when you remember who made this movie, because it's basically Sam Raimi doing like a PG-13 Evil Dead or something.
Yeah, so for people who, for whatever reason, are watching this and haven't seen the movie, when Doc Ock is like wakes up, he's at a hospital and they're trying to surgically remove the metal arms from him, but the arms come alive and start like killing the surgeons that are there in the hospital room, and it's all shot like an Evil Dead movie. There's no music going on. It's all these quick cuts. One guy pulls out like a chainsaw at one point.
Yeah, there's even a chainsaw flying around. Like the only thing that scene was missing was like Bruce Campbell. I mean,
exactly. How great would that have been if that was Bruce's cameo, was as a surgeon who holds the chainsaw?
Somebody should have handed him like a scalpel, and he like looks at it and says, "Groovy." But yeah, there's so many shots, not just in that scene, but just throughout the whole movie of like women screaming right at the camera. They're just like in the center of the frame, just screaming right at the camera. Like, if you didn't know that this director had made like horror movies before watching this, you would know from like scenes like that. Yeah. It's actually legitimately kind of scary too.
Yeah. There's also a number of scenes that actually reminded me of Darkman as well. Like when Doc Ock is returning to like his destroyed lab on the outskirts of New York. That really reminded me of Darkman.
Darkman does kind of feel like he could have been a Spider-Man villain, actually, now that I think about it.
Yeah.
I don't know which one, though. But anyway. But yeah, like Doc Ock, like you do feel bad for him in a lot of scenes, but there are also scenes where he's really intimidating.
Yeah.
Like, there's one part where he, like, grabs Peter by the neck and he, like, threatens to tear Mary Jane's flesh off and, like...
From her bones.
And the way Alfred Molina said it, just, like, I was like, he's not kidding. Like, just...
No. He also just has a great design, too.
Yeah, the design's cool. Yeah, he's got like he's like wearing sunglasses for a lot of the
sunglasses, movie. A trench coat, and a fedora with 4 massive tentacles coming out of his back.
Yeah, I can definitely see why he's one of your favorite villains. Yeah. Like if we were doing like the awards show, like after this, he probably would have gotten like a nomination in there or something.
For best villain, 100%.
Although I don't know, Green Goblin's pretty good too. I'm glad that they brought those two back for No Way Home. You know, it kind of gave them some closure in that movie.
Yeah,
and that they actually brought the actors back too. They brought both Willem Dafoe and Alfred Molina back. You know?
Yeah. And then one other thing that I think I brought it up during the last movie too, but I really appreciate how they just stuck to one villain for this movie.
Yes, that
because it means you get to spend more time with Doc Ock and Spider-Man. It doesn't feel cluttered. It feels like both characters are really well developed.
We'll get into this later, but that's a problem we're going to run into when we talk about the next movie.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I do think that is...
Yeah, you have time, because you had time in this movie and in the previous one to develop both the main villain and Spider-Man as well, you know. Although I feel in this one, Spider-Man gets way more development than the villain. But you know, I'll talk about that later. Another person that gets a lot more to do in this one, I'm so glad. J. Jonah Jameson.
Yes. He has some absolutely amazing lines and delivery throughout the movie.
A lot of my favorite parts of this movie are just the stuff with J. Jonah Jameson. Like, He fires and unfires Peter several times in this movie.
You're fired! No, wait, I need you to get back.
Yeah. And one of my favorite parts of the movie, he has the best laugh of all time.
Could you pay me in advance?
You serious? Pay you for what? Standing there? The planetarium tomorrow night, 8 o'clock. There's the door.
And that scene is just so funny, too. Like, there's so many... Like, where were you? Photographing squirrels?
I like when they're trying to come up with names for Doc Ock, Ted Raimi, and J. Jonah.
Science Squid?
Crap.
Doctor Strange.
That's pretty good. But it's taken.
I want to know, so I guess there's Doctor Strange in this world somewhere.
Well, he's in, like... He's a Marvel character as well, so...
Yeah. Oh, do you think it's the 1970s TV movie Doctor Strange?
Of course it was. Yes. Why wouldn't it be? I don't even remember who played him in that.
Oh, I'm gonna have to look it up.
I'm gonna laugh if it was also a Sherlock Holmes actor.
John Peter Hooton. Yeah, he's mostly just known as Peter Hooton, it looks like.
He's in 2020 Texas Gladiators.
What is this movie? Oh, are we gonna have to add this to the list? Oh, the poster! Look at the poster!
It's Mad Max. It just looks like Mad Max. Okay.
There's a guy dressed like Snake Plissken in one screenshot.
It'll be later down the line, but we should do this at some point. I don't know what this movie is, but I think it's like an Italian movie. Yes, it's an Italian movie.
Yeah, of course it's an Italian movie.
You know, if we're gonna do another one of those two movies enter thing, we should like do Doctor Strange versus Doctor Strange.
The most lopsided versus match I've ever seen.
Who bargains better, basically, between those two guys. But yeah, Jameson's just great. Like, I never get tired of hearing that laugh. It's so funny. And then he's so delighted when Spider-Man gives up. And he only regrets it when his son's fiancée gets kidnapped.
I love that scene, too, where he's talking about it when his suit gets stolen.
Spider-Man was a hero. I just couldn't see it. He was a thief! A criminal! He stole my suit! He's a menace to the entire city! I want that wall-crawling arachnid prosecuted! I want him strung up by his web! I want Spider-Man!
Yeah.
Like, as soon as Spider-Man comes back, he's against him again.
Yeah. And that was another thing I liked about the MCU Spider-Man movies, is they did bring back J.K. Simmons as Jameson.
Yeah. He was a bit more...
They just turned him into Alex
Jones.
He turned him into Alex Jones, but it was still funny seeing him there, yeah. Because that's just one of those casting choices that you can't really improve on that. I mean, he was just like perfect.
He looks like him. He sounds exactly how you think he would sound.
The special effects, I think, are really good in this. Much improved on the first one. And this actually won the Oscar for Best Visual Effects, too, I should bring up.
That doesn't surprise me.
Definitely well-deserved.
Yeah.
Harry is still upset in this movie because...
Yes.
Not only did Spider-Man kill his dad, but he also finds out in this movie... This is the one where he finds out Peter is Spider-Man.
And I do really like his reaction when he learns about it, because he looks absolutely devastated. Even though he's not on the best terms with Peter in this one, he still looks just crushed when he finds out.
Because he has a knife, and he pulls his mask, and but he ends up dropping the knife when he realizes who it is. Yeah. And that was one thing I was going to say. James Franco definitely, his performance definitely improved in this one over the first one. I think just because he gets more to do. He has a lot more character development in this one. Even if he is just kind of moping the whole time, but it's understandable why, because his dad died, you know.
And at the end of his storyline, we get our Willem Dafoe cameo, where he shows up in the mirror again, which I don't quite understand how that works. But
I think he's just hallucinating, but yeah.
That would make sense.
He, like, sees Willem Dafoe, but yeah, the fact that he sees him in the mirror again, kind of like Norman, that's kind of weird. Avenge me!
Avenge me!
But yeah, he, like, breaks the mirror and then finds the Goblin Cave, which at that point, I'm just like, okay, Harry, he was the Green Goblin. Like, are you really that...
Surely you realize this by now.
And it is kind of weird that Peter doesn't just explain this to Harry, but at the same time, I kind of get why, because, like, Norman's last words were, "Don't tell Harry," so, like, he's just...
You
know, upholding that promise, basically. But, I mean, he doesn't have to. Like, nobody else was there.
Yeah.
That happened,
But it is also just a thing because, you know, like we mentioned before, Peter is rather awkward. And how do you even broach the subject of, hey, this is how your dad actually died?
That's a fair point. But the camera work was pretty good, too, in this. There's a lot of, like, transitions that I liked. Like, one in particular was when he throws the costume away, and then it fades to black, and all you see is the eyes of the costume.
Yeah.
I thought that was cool. Again, it's Sam Raimi bringing his
whole thing is doing cool transitions. That's
the movie doesn't quite have that same psychotic energy that the first one had, but yeah. This one feels a little more like a normal movie.
Yeah, no, it's still paced really fast, just like nowhere near the breakneck speeds of other Sam
But
Raimi
also, like, the
films.
first one was a lot more, like... Again, the first one was a lot more cartoonish. This one feels a little bit more grounded, you know. Which I think works for what they were going for with this movie. MJ finally became an actress in this one, so, you know, she's succeeding. Doesn't do that well in the third one, but we'll get to that. Bruce Campbell shows up as Mysterio.
As the jackass, what even position? Like the theater? The usher, that's what we'll call him.
I'm so disappointed that we didn't get a fourth Spider-Man movie.
I know.
Because then not only would we have gotten Mysterio, we would have gotten Bruce Campbell as Mysterio.
Yeah.
I mean, at least Far From Home exists, so, you know, we got Mysterio there, but yeah, I thought his cameo in this was funny, because basically he's the theater usher that, like, won't let Peter in to see MJ's play.
And, like, he comes in and immediately, he's like, your shoe's untied, and then tells him to fix his tie. And then he's like, okay, what do you want?
And, like, says he's there to see the play, but he's like, oh, you can't go in while the play's in progress.
Yeah.
And he also tells him to shush, because, you know, no talk. There's, like, he's, like, pointing at signs on the door, like, one of them says, you can't go in while the play's in progress. The other says, like, quiet while play is in progress, which I thought that was funny. And then later he's like calling MJ on the phone, and he's like saying like somebody should fire that that guy that works at the theater there, you know. But yeah, there's a lot of funny extras in this movie too, I noticed.
Yeah,
like the kids that ask like how he was able to jump, like, because he does that ridiculous jump, like, over.
That's right. he jumps off of his bike like several feet into the air and lands, and the kid's like, "Whoa, how'd you do that?"
Exercise, eat your fruits and vegetables. That's what my mom's been telling
what my
me.
mom's saying. I just didn't believe her.
It was so weird. Or there's that weird fiddler in that one scene, which that was the clip. That's the clip I'm tempted to put like at the beginning of this. Is like her
is the Spider-Man song,
the off-key rendition of the Spider-Man theme. I just found that so funny while watching. I kind of forgot that was from this movie actually, because I did.
Yeah,
I could definitely remember hearing it, but I forgot it was from Spider-Man 2. And also the scene on the train, that's a really good scene.
Oh yeah,
because that's like the part where he's Spider-Man, he's like back and he's saving people, and like the people on the train are like helping him too.
Yeah,
and they even defend him from Doc Ock as well.
And one other thing that I love in that scene is he loses his mask when he falls into the train, and the one guy's like, he's just a kid, and like everyone agrees to keep his identity secret, which I think is just like that's just like a great.
To be fair though, they live in New York City. I mean, how many people do you run into?
Yeah, there's that. There's probably the fact that not a single person recognized him on that train.
Probably never see him again. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then this kid gives him the mask back, says it's good to have you back, which I was like,
yeah,
I almost cried during that scene. God damn it! But like, because he spends so much of the movie just like not wanting to be Spider-Man, and then when he finally does come back, it's so satisfying.
Yeah.
We also have Jeff Winger working at a bank, apparently.
And I mentioned earlier Joey Diaz on the train.
Yeah. Poor Aunt May doesn't get the free toaster at the bank. Because you have to like open up an account or something.
Yeah, I had to open an account and deposit $300. During that train scene still, when he's... There's one quote that I find really funny, because he tries to do the web thing at first on just the sides of two buildings, and it fails, like all the bricks fall down. And someone on the train's like, got any other brilliant ideas?
Yeah,
like,
I have
why
a
is
few.
he being snarky? Why is he being so snarky to Spider-Man?
Yeah, I know. But what I was gonna say, Uncle Ben has a really good scene in this movie. Well, okay, it's a daydream, I guess, because basically it's Peter like imagining he's talking to Uncle Ben, like.
Yeah, and basically explaining that he's giving up being Spider-Man.
It was a really good scene. Like, it was very well acted.
It's pretty emotional.
Yeah, that was another scene where I almost cried. Like, god damn it. He like says, "I'm Spider-Man no more" during that scene. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that was the name of the comics that that storyline was based off of.
Okay, yeah, that would make sense.
Yeah. Yeah, Spider-Man No More is like.
But they're like sitting.
Well, let me.
Sorry, they're like sitting in a car and like the background's like white, like it's Nowhere Man or something, you know.
Yeah.
Yellow Submarine. It kind of is what Peter Parker is like in this movie. He's Nowhere Man. And then the very next scene is probably my favorite scene of the movie, which is when he... There's that really, like, happy montage with the song Raindrops Keep Falling on My Head playing.
That montage is funny because he keeps seeing terrible things happen and then just goes along his way. Like the one guy getting mugged in the alley, he just looks there and then walks away.
Yeah, or when he's like eating, like, and there's like the police going by. But whenever I think of this movie, that song instantly gets stuck in my head, like, just because.
Yeah.
And it was also nice seeing like Peter just like he's succeeding too in his personal life. He's
Yeah. It's like the only time we see that happen.
like, even Dr. Connors, he's like impressed that he's like improving in school.
Yeah.
'Cause Dr. Connors does not know that he is Spider-Man yet. Probably
And I
would.
think Dr.
That's another
Connors
thing that
even
was
becomes...
disappointing about the fact they didn't do a fourth one, because it seems like they're setting up Dr. Connors just so they can have him be the Lizard.
I was just about to bring that up, because especially in the third one, he starts becoming more and more of a main character, because he's the one that is first sort of studying the symbiote.
And the guy that plays him is pretty good in this too. Dylan Baker. He's a good actor. I didn't realize until recently he's in Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. He plays the weird trucker dude. That one scene.
Huh.
That keeps it. He like spits in Steve Martin's hand and then shakes. What? The elevator scene is pretty funny. Where this is Spider-Man in an elevator with this dude, and the guy's like asking him if the suit is. He like says that the suit looks uncomfortable.
Yeah, it gets kind of itchy. Rides up in the crotch a little bit.
Yeah, that was pretty funny. It was also so funny watching this, and just the number of payphones in this, like.
Yeah, actually.
That's how you know this is a 20-year-old movie.
Because not everybody's got their smartphones out and about.
I really like the part where Peter saves that kid from a burning building.
Oh, yeah. As himself and not as Spider-Man.
Yeah, because even when he just can't help himself. Like, he has to save her, from the...
Yeah. And then later, like right after that, there's someone that apparently he wasn't able to save. And you can tell he just feels horrible about it.
Yeah, and that's kind of when he starts to realize he should, with great power comes great responsibility.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
And also when he's talking to the kid that's helping Aunt May move, that's when he realized, like... Because the kid's, like, wants to become Spider-Man when he grows up, and he realizes, like, how important it is for people to have heroes that they can look up to,
Yeah, and that was part of, what Aunt May was sort of telling him.
So there's, like, some really good emotional scenes, but then there's also, there's humor in there, too, like, when he...
Yeah.
when he jumps the roof and, like, falls.
When late in the movie, Doc Ock like stabs an electrical cable, and he's like getting electrocuted, and it looks like something out of like a Three Stooges bit.
Yeah, because Mr. Raimi does love his Three Stooges. I think they named the mechanical arms after the Three Stooges, if I remember right.
Oh yeah, it was
Larry, Curly, Moe, and Flo.
And Flo. Yeah. Because one of the arms was, like, being rigged by a woman, so they named that one Flo.
Wait, Shemp wasn't a woman? I didn't know that. And there's also the movie where Mary Jane finds out who Spider-Man is. And
Yep.
Yeah, that was also a really good scene, because she, like, finally realized, like, why he is so bad at scheduling things.
It's because he's also trying to save New York City at the same time.
Doc Ock gets a pretty good death, too.
Yeah, he gets a bit of a redemption.
I don't know if he either regains control of the arms or...
Yeah, he kind of regains control because the arms start to short out in the water.
Yeah. And he, like, decides he has to, like, stop the machine that he created, because it's... it's kind of hard to build a miniature sun in New York without something wrong happening. So he just drowns it in the river, basically.
I will not die, monster.
And then he gets more redemption in the new Spider-Man 3, the No Way Home.
As does Norman Osborn.
The Goblin.
Yeah. Also, another cameo, which I didn't know about this until like watching some videos about it. Apparently, the Punisher is in this movie.
Really?
The Punisher has a cameo. It's not Thomas Jane, but he's somewhere in the background when Mary Jane is running away from the wedding.
Huh. Okay, I just found like a Reddit, like a post of it on Reddit. Apparently in the commentary it says it was supposed to be Frank Castle.
Yeah, he looks kind of like Thomas Jane. It's not the same actor, but it's a different actor. But... And this did come out the same year as the 2004 Punisher, so there's that. They're both Marvel characters. Plus the Punisher, I think he was originally a Spider-Man villain, if I remember right.
Yeah, I think he started off as one.
Yeah, overall, I think the script was better for this one. Like, the dialogue was better. There was more character development here.
Yeah.
And the story was pretty good. I do, however, have a few cons.
Same. So I know we've said that the CGI is mostly good.
Some of the faces look kind of weird if you look closely. Like this.
There was a weird green screen towards the end when Doc Ock starts walking towards like the miniature sun that just looked bad. Also, the transition where like the car gets thrown into the cafe looks a little weird. Like that one's never looked the smoothest.
That part's kind of funny too, because he's like he's like talking to Mary Jane, and like suddenly the car gets thrown through there. There were some lines that, occasionally there were some lines that felt kind of out of place, like when Peter says, "Oh boy, yeah," when talking to Mary Jane. Like, what was that? I know that he's awkward, but it still just it didn't feel natural to the scene. I don't know. And there's not as much Spider-Man in this one. There's a lot of Peter Parker.
Yeah, it's a lot more Peter Parker. Because there's not really a whole lot of Spider-Man action for a while. Like, not until Doc Ock sort of emerges, and then he goes, like, he quits being Spider-Man for a long while.
Yeah, the first movie was a lot more action-packed. And also the movie sort of forgets about Doc Ock for a good chunk of it, too. Like, basically, when he quits being Spider-Man, like, Doc Ock is, like, absent for a lot of it, but... I also... Mary Jane was a lot less likable in this one. It seemed like she was just kind of overly mean to Peter and annoying the whole time. It was getting to the point where I was like, I just didn't understand why Peter was still trying to pursue her.
Yeah. Because she was... Really, everyone was really antagonistic towards Peter.
Yeah. And sometimes it made sense, and then sometimes it was just like, I feel like they were overdoing it. And from what and she's even worse in the next one, but we'll get to that.
She ggets really bad in the next one.
To be fair, a lot of other characters get really bad in the next one.
Yeah.
At this point, I was like thinking, like, hell, like, Peter Parker, you could go after, like, Betty Brant or the rent guy's daughter.
Yeah.
They're way more supportive of him in this movie. Like, it's just...
And especially in the next movie, the rent guy's daughter is, like, super supportive of him.
This is something I've noticed the last few times I watched it, but, like, so Mary Jane has a fiancé who is an astronaut.
Yeah, John Jameson.
The son of J. Jonah Jameson, and he hardly gets any character development.
No, he's in the movie for like 2 scenes.
He's a pretty big plot point, too.
Yeah. Because, like, you see one scene with them together being tender, and then Mary Jane just dumps him at the alter. You feel so bad for him.
And she doesn't face any repercussions for this either.
No!
In either this or the next movie, which I'm like, that whole subplot just felt weird to me. Like,
Yeah. Because like, you could have done it with Harry. It would have been sort of retreading the previous movie, but I feel like it would have fit a little better than just...
well, they do
introduce a character to...
If you remember the third movie, they do kind of do that
right.
again.
That's right.
I just want to talk about the third movie because I have so many problems with that movie. Especially after watching the second one again, because you watch the second one again and you're like, oh wow, this movie's so good, and then you go to the next one and you're like, oh my god, this movie's not as good.
Yeah.
Did you have anything else to add with cons, or because I'm out?
I think that's it. That's really it. There's not a whole lot to talk about with cons with this movie.
Yeah, because it's a pretty good movie, you know. Which now we can get into our overall thoughts.
Yeah, so again, like I mentioned, I think it's just a fantastic movie. By far my favorite superhero movie we've done on this podcast. It's paced really well. It's written really well.
But is it
the
your
characters,
favorite?
especially.
Sorry, is it your favorite superhero movie of all time, though?
I think it is. I can't really think of anything because like. The Dark Knight's great, but if I had to like choose between Spider-Man 2 or The Dark Knight, I would choose to watch Spider-Man 2, I think.
You might change your mind if you ever watch Morbius. I'll just say that.
Please no. Madam Web supremacy.
Or Madam Web. Oh god, Madam Web is so bad. That came out this year, the 20th anniversary of Spider-Man 2, and what do we get? We get Madam Web.
Madam Web.
Sake.
Where the main bad guy is killed by a Pepsi sign.
Sorry, you keep going.
And Doc Ock as a character is just fantastic. Everything from his design to sort of his backstory is very sympathetic. J. Jonah Jameson, again, is just really funny anytime he's on screen. Peter's story is really compelling. It's all just done super well. And a lot of, like, you know, the problems that do pop up with this movie for me are just nitpicks. Like, it's nothing huge.
Yeah. That astronaut doesn't really amount to much in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah.
And he's the first guy that played football on the moon. Like, why aren't we... I think what they were going to do is he was going to be set up for the third movie. Because that was how the symbiote got to Earth, as he, like, went on a space mission and brought it back.
Because isn't that also the plot point to the Venom movie? That it was his mission that brought back the symbiote?
It might have been. I don't remember.
Yeah, it was John Jameson III, the astronaut that brought back the symbiote in the Venom movie.
That's so weird that, like, J. Jonah Jameson's son is this guy.
Yeah.
And he actually seems like a nice dude, too, unlike his dad.
Yeah, you feel bad for him at the end of the movie.
Yeah. Was there anything else you wanted to add? Sorry.
I think that was it.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that was it.
Again, it's a damn good movie. It's not quite as good as Morbius, but it's good. Fucking Morbius. When are they gonna do the Morbius Spider-Man movie? It has more of an emotional center to it. The characters are fleshed out more. Another great Danny Elfman score. The action scenes are great. it's engaging, it's entertaining, and it's emotional all at the same time. So it hits a lot of boxes. It's definitely one of my favorite superhero movies. Again, like the only ones better are The Incredibles and Morbius. If you can count, does Morbius count as a superhero movie? I don't know.
I think technically it is.
The Dark Knight, again, that one's also very good, but I just find this one more fun. Like, it's more fun while also having dramatic moments in it as well.
Yeah.
Which is nice.
Yeah.
It's nice having levity and other stuff. Now I just want a fucking pizza after watching this movie.
You know what I want after talking about Venom? I want to rewatch that Venom movie. It's garbage, but I have so much fun watching it.
Goodness. Maybe we'll do those on the podcast at some point.
We just need more Tom Hardy on the podcast.
At the very least, I do remember enjoying the first Venom movie, although I'm not sure how much of that was... I'm not sure if that movie was trying to be bad or not. Just the thing, like...
It's really funny to watch, especially when Eddie's having like his mental breakdown after getting infected with the symbiote. I don't know why. I just find the whole movie just so funny to watch.
I'm not sure if that movie was supposed to be funny or not.
I don't think it was supposed to be, but it was.
Did you see the second one or not?
No, I haven't seen the second one yet.
That one wasn't... Well, from what I remember, that one was a little less campy. But it wasn't terrible. And I mean, we finally got a movie with Carnage in it. How can I hate a movie that has Carnage in it? I literally was waiting like 20 years for them to make a Carnage movie, and then they finally did.
And it's Woody Harrelson that has Carnage, right?
Yes, Woody Harrelson plays Carnage. Which that's a casting choice right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, next time we'll be doing the, the classic Spider-Man 3.
Spider-Man 3. And until then, roll the Andy Griffith.
Good night, you stupid idiot. Good night, you miserable slob.